Welcome back to Crypto Talk Now. Today we're talking about Stellar and XLM because the story around this network is getting a lot more interesting. We're seeing tokenized assets, institutional participation, global payments, and deeper involvement from major financial companies. But today is also a special one here at CTN. We're welcoming a brand new voice to the family. Joining us for the very first time from CTN China Crypto, please welcome Angela Lin. Angela, welcome to Crypto Talk Now.
Thank you, Chloe. I'm very happy to finally be here. I've been watching all of you for a while, and now I finally get to join the madness myself.
Angela, 欢迎加入 CTN， 我可是一直很期待见到你呢。
Hi, honey.
Wow, I like her already.
The biggest thing is that I think a lot of investors are still looking at Stellar through an old lens. For years, people described Stellar as fast payments, cheap transactions, cross-border money movement, and sometimes as an XRP competitor. But that description is becoming incomplete. Stellar is increasingly becoming a tokenization and financial infrastructure story.
One recent example is Tradable. Tradable announced plans to bring up to $1 billion in tokenized private credit assets onto Stellar. And that's important because we're not talking about speculative tokens. We're talking about private credit. Traditional financial assets moving onto public blockchain infrastructure. Forget meme coins for a minute. Stellar is going after private credit and institutional assets. That's a completely different game.
But up to $1 billion is an important phrase.
Absolutely. It's an announced integration. Now investors need to watch what actually comes on-chain. Because in crypto, an announcement and execution are two very different things. Don't invest in the headline. Watch the execution.
Then we've got MoneyGram, Figure Markets, and Range becoming more involved with Stellar.
Yes, and this is another development I think matters. They announced plans to join Stellar as Tier 1 validators. That means they're not simply using the network, they're becoming involved with infrastructure that helps support network consensus. There's a major difference between a company using a blockchain and a company helping secure that blockchain.
So when you step back and put all of this together, what's the bigger picture?
Look at what's developing around Stellar. Payments, stablecoins, tokenized assets, private credit, institutional participation, network infrastructure. Taken individually, none of those guarantees anything. But together, they start telling a much bigger story. Stellar isn't trying to win the loudest crypto narrative. It's trying to become infrastructure people actually use.
And that's really the key, actual use.
Exactly, because eventually, every blockchain has to answer one question. What do people actually use you for? Price can move on speculation. Headlines can create excitement, but long-term relevance needs utility. And that's why I'm watching Stellar so closely.
Angela, 你好，很高兴见到你. Now, I'm going to challenge one point. Everything you've described could be bullish for Stellar the network. But why should investors automatically assume it's bullish for XLM the token? Those aren't necessarily the same thing.
Hello, Rocky. You're right, and that's probably the most important distinction in this entire conversation. A blockchain can succeed without its token performing the way investors expect. XLM has real utility within Stellar, but you can't simply say, more money moves through Stellar, therefore, XLM has to explode. That's not enough. The real question is whether greater Stellar adoption creates greater utility, greater liquidity, greater ecosystem activity, and ultimately more economic demand for XLM itself. Stellar adoption and XLM price are related questions. They are not the same question.
All right, Angela, bring it home for us. If somebody owns XLM right now, what should they actually be watching?
4 things: real assets, real transactions, real liquidity, real users. Everything else is noise. Don't just tell me how many partnerships Stellar announces. Show me how much economic activity those partnerships actually create. That's what will tell us whether Stellar is becoming serious financial infrastructure, or whether investors are getting ahead of the story. I'm interested in XLM because the pieces are becoming more interesting, but adoption still has to become measurable. Price can move on hype. Long-term value needs utility.
All right, CTN family, what do you think? If Stellar succeeds, does XLM succeed with it? Drop your take below, subscribe to Crypto Talk now, and welcome Angela Lin to CTN. I'm Patches. Until next time, keep your tails wagging.